Hey guys, HMK here once again, and the hype is so real for Breath of the Wild. Guys, it's finally coming out. I can't believe it. Oh my goodness. And just gonna put in a little plugs here before I get into the real meat of this video. One, if I reach 100k, we reach 91k already. We're almost there, less than 8k. If we hit 100k before March, I'm giving away a Switch. Remember that. And also, I'm giving away 3 copies of Breath of the Wild. That giveaway is still going on. And 3, this video is going to encapsulate a bit of the backstory that was recently translated and discovered by my boy Zelda and his Discord group. Yo, man, give me that invite. Let me slide into your Discord group. But yo, props to you, man. I'm gonna leave a link to the video in the description box below so you can check it out for yourself. And since it does deal with a bit of the backstory that was translated from Breath of the Wild, from that tapestry that you get with the Master and Collector's Edition, this will indeed have a form of spoilers for those who don't want to spoil any bit of the backstory, any bit of the history for Breath of the Wild. So if you're not down with that, then you can go ahead and close the video right now. If not, your warning is over, so let's get right into it. So the bit of the backstory that was given out through the tapestry that was translated reads as follows. Hylians passed stories of a distant time long past, where multiple races lived and worked together in harmony. The Sheikah tribe's blue aura breathed through the land, and this mutual prosperity continued until a cataclysmic disaster struck. The hero and the princess attempted in vain to seal this terror, which became known as Calamity Ganon. Divine beasts awoke from 4 directions and deployed a mechanical army which made the king and his people fearful. They fractured Ganon's power and sealed him, but the Sheikah were banished from the land ever since. So that's the backstory that was given out through the tapestry. I was able to call a bit of it when the tapestry first got revealed, and I said, oh, these 4 guardians, I called them 4 godly guardians, and I'm not too far off. I mean, like 4 divine beasts, 4 mechanical divine beasts. I was pretty on point when calling those, and we've already seen 3 of them, the chameleon, the camel, and the bird, but we haven't not seen the elephant yet, so that's to be talked about. So it looks like the princess and the hero failed in doing this. It's unknown if they died or if they just merely failed. But this type of story kind of like conflicts to what we know of everything we know in the Breath of the Wild, because from what we know before this passage was that Hyrule was completely obliterated, well, almost completely obliterated, to the point where the land was taken back by nature, and that humanity was on its last legs. But from what this reads is that Hyrule did indeed take a heavy hit, but all was not lost, because I mean, the mechanical army seemed to fracture Ganon's power, and the king and the people were still, you know, very much aware of what was going on. So what it looks like that the entirety of the Hyrule Castle town probably end up getting the worst damage, and that the people who did survive that debacle was spread out throughout the land in order to fend for themselves and create communities among themselves. So it looks like the most focal point of the Hyrulean royal power was destroyed, but everything else in Hyrule was pretty much good for a point. That's from what we read, and that's what I infer. So that definitely conflicts to what we understood about Breath of the Wild's backstory up until now. Now, with reading this, it seems that the Sheikah once again has received kind of the shitty end of the stick when it comes to what's going on with Zelda's history and Zelda's backstory, because it says the Sheikah were banished from the land ever since. However, we have the Sheikah monks living underground, so maybe that's what they mean by being banished ever since. They were forced underground. It looks like the king had to make a decision, or I should say what was left of Hyrule's royal power had to make a decision, because these mechanical beasts were too powerful for anyone to control. As you know, when someone has too much power, they had to do something about it. Similar to stories what happens with the Triforce and whatnot. But once again, the giant mechanical army seems to be a bit of an enemy this time around, because it seems that in the backstory they were, you know, under the employment of the Sheikah or the Hyrule royal family in trying to stop Calamity Ganon. But from what we know, Calamity Ganon corrupts, and these things act as your enemy. A lot of them act as your enemy when they're glowing purple, and when like that purple pinkish red thing goes on, you know you're in for a bad time. So that's probably why the Sheikah got banished, because they deployed this mechanical army, and they thought, hey, everything is good, the machines, you know, they're indestructible, yada yada yada, but machines are easily corrupt, as we've seen in almost any narrative that has to deal with machines defending the people. and that's probably why the king or the Hylians decided to banish the Sheikah, right? So, but they leave that part out in this backstory. You know, that's something that would have been very, very important to for us to know, that these divine beasts and even these mechanical beasts were corrupted by Calamity Ganon in his last attempt to, you know, cause some damage when he was sealed in the Hyrule Castle. And, you know, they didn't even say that he was sealed in Hyrule Castle in this passage. So, with all that being said, I've been getting a lot of questions on where do I think this game could take place in the timeline with this bit of information. Well, it hasn't really changed, ladies and gentlemen. I still believe that two main focal points of where this game could take place could either be in an alternate timeline that was split off from Skyward Sword thanks to Link going in the past to destroy Demise, or way ahead of Four Swords Adventures in the Child timeline. But now from this, I believe that it could take place in a possible third section, not another timeline, but like, you know, I have a third option of where it could take place in the timeline, and that is in the era of prosperity before the Minish Cap, before the Force era. It could be a story lost to time because, you know, we've always had the excuse from Nintendo and from The Legend of Zelda that some legends get lost to time when moving forward, and that makes sense because, I mean, that's something that happens in the real world. You know, the history is written by the victors and yada yada yada. So I mean, something like this where lots of stuff was lost could have been a reason why the legend itself was lost, and it could have been taking place in the era of prosperity. And a big keyword that you know sticks out in this passage is that this mutual prosperity continued until a cataclysmic disaster struck. So I believe that it could take place in the era of prosperity. That in itself will push it closer to Skyward Sword, because I have another video coming out. There are a shitload of connections between this game and Skyward Sword, and more keep popping up. So I'm gonna make a video on that, and in order to place it closer to Skyward Sword in the main timeline, in the unified timeline, I would have to place it in the era of prosperity, even though there is a lot of other red flags that pop up when I try to do this, including the Temple of Time's placement in Hyrule, and other races being up and about during this era of prosperity, because in the Sky era, in Skyward Sword, the Zora were nowhere to be found, the Koroks were nowhere to be found. They kind of had like these, I would say, precursor races in that series, and then, you know, we don't know how long evolution takes to get to that, and that's science, and that's a whole other story. But I feel that it's a lot more concrete to have it in the Child timeline beyond the Four Swords Adventures, beyond the Shadow era, because after that game, it gets confirmed that relations between the Gerudo and Hylians are friendly once again, and from what we saw in the latest trailer, we do see a Gerudo-type town, and of course, a Gerudo-esque character. So that is a big inhibitor to a big point that it could take place in the Shadow era, because remember, everyone's saying, oh, it could be a sequel to Twilight Princess, a prequel to Twilight Princess. Could be, but I mean, in Twilight Princess, the Gerudos and the Koroks are basically like non-existent in this game, but there's a lot of things that can happen between them. So it could even be a prequel to Four Swords Adventures, but I mean, in Four Swords Adventures, they would have had some sort of, you know, big kicker to like, hey, you know, this shit went down before this. So I mean, yeah, so I mean, the most logical thing for Nintendo to do is to put this after Four Swords Adventures. However, I will have a much more detailed timeline placement update after this information. I just want to I want to discuss this new passage with you guys and see what you guys think about this information for those who want to continue watching the video despite it being a bit of a spoiler. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we can get from this new trailer and this new information to understand where this game could take place in the timeline. But yeah, so I have, and actually, you know, thanks to this passage, I have a lot of theories on what is going on in this game when it comes to characters and races and all that stuff. But I did, once again, I want to let you guys know what was up, and I want to know what you guys think about this awesome passage and where I think this game could take place. And once again, I still believe that it's either in a split timeline after Skyward Sword, now in the era of prosperity, or once again after the Shadow era, long past Four Swords Adventures. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And once again, please subscribe to HMK to keep up the hype. It's great. I am so ready for this game. Let's get it. So guys, until the next video, I've been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.